Forfeit. Forfeit. What's that mean? It means you win without a fight? Without shooting? He can't do that. You can't do that. I'm Liam, he's Rob, and this week on the Hey Guys podcast, we look back at what is actually the best Back to the Future sequel, 1990's Back to the Future Part 3. More Western than time-traveling fantasy, a more romantic adventure than traditional sci-fi action. It's easy to see why we all preferred Back to the Future Part 2 as kids, but upon revisiting this as an adult, it's clear to see that while Part 3 has nothing quite as memorable as self-lacing trainers and Jaws 19, unlike Part 2, what it does have is a decent script and a narrative that doesn't drop off a cliff in the second act. Still, I can totally see why 3 might not be for everyone. I guess the important question is, Rob, is it for you?
So we're talking sequels, not the original, not the first one, no? Because the first one is obviously the better one. The
best one. Yeah.
I'm with you, but for different reasons. So I'm with you that this is the better film because this has full nostalgia written all over it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I wholeheartedly remember this film more than the other two.
That's weird. My friend said the exact same thing. He said maybe it's just like it was on TV more. I just remember watching 1 loads and then 2 quite a bit, and this being like a distant third. But a lot of people I've spoken to about since we've decided to do this for the podcast, they've all said they've seen 3 fucking loads.
This was the first film I ever watched in the cinema that I can remember.
Oh,
I was 5 years of age. No, I wasn't. I was 7 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
Watching it in Treacle Bay Cinema. Because we used to go every summer holidays for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. We would go to Treacle Bay in Porthcawl. We'd have 2 weeks in the caravan. My dad would drop us off on the Saturday. He'd go back home. He'd go back home on the Monday to go to work. We wouldn't see him until the Friday. He'd do it again for the next week. So,
nice.
Typical 80s, 90s kids, you know.
I was going to say that doesn't sound like a traditional kind of modern holiday at all. No. But it was very much the norm in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. So I have real nostalgia to this, like going with my mother and my brother to watch it random night in, like I said, in Treacle Bay Cinema. I don't even know if that cinema is still in Treacle Bay. I can't remember the last time I went to Treacle Bay. But I totally prefer this film over the second one. I'm a big fan of this film.
I feel like you say that, and I feel like a lot of people, if they haven't seen these movies for quite a while, might be surprised to hear that, because I think, and we mentioned this when we covered number 2 on the podcast, is that when people think of Part 2, what they're really doing is thinking of the first 30 minutes. Yeah. They're thinking of him showing up in the future. They're thinking of the self-lacing boots, the self-drying coat, the hoverboard, all that jazz. And that bit is awesome. Like for 30 minutes, number 2 is fantastic. And then all of a sudden you get the weird Biff as like, Trump and all that jazz. And it's not great, the second half of that film.
And that's what I wanted to say. With this, it's brighter. It gives you the energy of the first film again.
Yeah,
it's brighter. It's more fun. You're having a bit more adventure.
It's more based on the relationships and the characters as well, where the second one is so plotty.
Yeah, it's so plotty, and it's so wishy-washy as well, or as Doctor Who likes to say, timey-wimey. It's going fucking everywhere.
Yeah. It is incredibly timey-wimey, the second one, yeah.
So I do enjoy the second one. I'm not saying the second one's bad in any way, shape, or form, but if we concentrate on Back to the Future Part 3, it is definitely the second best one of the 3. And I have more fun with this. Michael J. Fox is having more fun with this. And I know it was filmed, and I think, you'd think, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay, no problem.
It's because it was filmed back to back with the second one. You'd think by the time he got to doing this one, all of them really, they'd be a bit run down. They wouldn't be as much energy through it, but they seem to have just kept it going because they filmed for a full year, 2 fucking films in a full year.
Yeah, this was like, to my knowledge, I'm sure there are other movies that did it, but like growing up, it seems like
let's not go into Lord of the Rings and stuff because that was,
Well, no, yeah, well, that was slightly different, but the idea of like shooting sequels back to back, and like you said, there was like Lord of the Rings afterwards, and the Matrix 2 and 3 was like the big famous one, but that was more 10 years later. So when I was a kid, I'd never heard of this before. The idea that, oh my god, they're shooting Back to Future 2 and 3 back to back, but I can like you said, like it would make sense in terms of the time they've been on set, etc., that they might be running out of puff. But I think they probably just enjoyed the fact that Part 3 feels like a character piece again. Of course, they're still dealing with some, as you put it, timey-wimey stuff, and some of the exposition and narrative is very on the nose to get to the point. But fundamentally, at its heart, this is a character piece. Like I said, this is more of a Western than it is a time travel movie.
Yeah.
It's like it's got time travel trimmings, should we say.
Do you know
but
what?
at its core, this is like a romantic Western.
And do you know why it was a Western?
I have no idea.
For no other reason than Michael J. Fox just making a comment, oh, one day I'd love to shoot a Western. Oh, well, fuck it, we need an idea for Back to the Future 3, let's do that.
Well, what and yeah, why not? Because you want to differentiate it from the first one. And you would think they might go up until that point. Everything had been in like 30-year jumps or something. Was it 85 to 2015 and all these other things? This is like 100 years, obviously, before 55.
What is with the fives as well? Can you go to like
85? Sorry,
yeah, but can you go to like 1997 or something like that? What's with the fives?
I have no idea. Well, that's the weird thing with this. Is that I think he just kind of decided if he was going to look at like points in the future, it's just like, oh, we'll just be consistent. I'll make like 30-year jumps. The interesting thing with this is that it's completely by chance. Doc didn't plan to go to 1885, despite the fact that he said he always wanted to be a cowboy and all that jazz. The DeLorean got overloaded and hit by lightning at the end of Back to the Future Part 2. So, initially the idea is that like Marty thinks he's blown up and that he's dead. So yeah, the interesting thing is like the whole 1885 thing, it's just purely by chance.
Yeah.
So, that would explain it being more than 30 years, but it's weird that they kind of go to great lengths Doc says numerous times, oh, I always wanted to be a cowboy, this idea that he loved the Wild West. But him going back to 1885 wasn't planned at all. Like at the end of Back to the Future 2, the DeLorean got hit by lightning and, the whole thing is that Marty thinks it's exploded and that Doc is dead. But the DeLorean got overpowered and it's just shot off. All I can think is that at some point he's toyed with the idea of going to 1885 and he's put it into the system. Yeah. And it's just kind of set it there by accident. I don't like the idea that it's just a kind of random year the DeLorean's gone to.
I thought they were mentioning it. No, I think that's what happened. One, it got struck by lightning, the time circuits went off, came on, and for some reason the time circuits came on to 1885.
Yeah.
So
it's just a complete
so much happenstance. It's ridiculous.
Well, that was the thing. I was trying to figure out with this film if it is just happenstance and it's poor screenwriting, or if they're leaning into the whole idea that there's a sense of kind of like fate and crossover, that all these people are connected. Because there's stuff like when he goes back to 1955, which I love, by the way. It's basically the end of Back to the Future Part 2 and it goes directly into Back to the Future Part 3. And it's like the start of a Rocky movie, where it shows you the end of the last film at the start of this film. And it's a great way to get you on board.
Because it was filmed back to back. Yeah,
exactly.
Have that trailer per in.
When it has that sequence from the end of Back to the Future 2, where, he sent Marty back to the future, but then another Marty comes running around the corner. Of course, the music plays that fantastic Alan Silvestri score. And the movie literally has you 20 seconds in the same way Rocky movies do. You put on a Rocky movie, it shows you the end of like Rocky 3, and you're already, and then the music comes in. And before Rocky 4 has even started, you're just like, I am so on board for this. And it's exactly the same here. But oh God, I forgot what my point was. I got caught up with the whole Alan Silvestri score thing.
I mean, the score is great. I still question the friendship. I've done this on Back to the Future 1 and 2. I still question the friendship of these two. No matter that Doc is a little bit younger in 1955, but then he's 30 years older in 85, and he's made friends with a 17-year-old. The friendship, I'm not going to go too much into it, Mr. Miyagi style. The friendship is odd. We can move on. I tell you what I did enjoy. When we were in 1950, I was all ready to attack this film when they were talking about Clint Eastwood. And Doc went, who? And he's going, you don't know him yet. And I'm all ready to attack this film. And then I realized, no, they're in 1955. Nobody would have known him. Because I'm still thinking it's 1985, because I'm getting confused with the timey-wimey shit.
Yeah, there are times when I feel like I'm like you say, I'm set up to like attack the film. Like at one point, at the end, when they're having like the shootouts between Mad Dog Tannen and Marty, and he goes, he calls him dude. Yeah. And I was like, fucking dude. But supposedly... Yeah, well, that was the thing. The first time that a dude showed up in American literature was in the 1870s, so it's actually time accurate. It just sounded weird when I heard it.
It's one of the things. So, two things to mention. I will go back to that, like Marty introducing things. But I wanted to say as well, when they were in 1955, when he came out dressed as that cowboy, I never noticed the radioactive isotopes that he had on his shoulders before.
Yeah, it's just so 50s, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So 50s. Like, where's Doc shopping? Like, fucking, it was ridiculous. But
Oh, sorry. Just quickly, because I went off the rails. I forgot what I was talking about. It was because you mentioned the fact that there's all the happenstance. And I was saying, they're leaning into the whole idea that they're all kind of connected. But when they go to find the DeLorean in 1955 and they blow it up, not only do they blow it up, they just so happen to be parked right next to
grave.
Doc's gravestone.
Yeah,
and not only that, but he just so happens to shine the light on that gravestone. Then when he looks at the gravestone, not only does it say, here's Doc Brown, this is when he died, it also tells you exposition-wise how he was killed. I'm just like, is that the first time a gravestone has ever been used to deliver exposition? I was like, it's spectacular.
Two other things about that before I go into my other point was it's all because the dog can read. Copernicus could read that said Doc Brown because he was pining at that grave. So apparently Copernicus could read.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing being, his beloved Clara Clayton, or whatever her name was, was even if like Marty didn't get involved and Doc got killed but he fell in love, it was still from Saturday to Monday. They rescued her from falling to the ridge on Saturday.
Yeah.
So even without Doc, that's fucking... Again, like we said last week, like we've said... Everyone in these films seems to be fucking falling in love so fucking falling in love so quick. It's ridiculous.
I mean, in fairness, don't get me wrong, it makes no sense. I don't care how much they fell in love. There's no way it's going to be put on the gravestone after like 3 days. The film, however, is predicated largely on the strength of the chemistry between Doc and Clara. Like you have to, for the film to work, you have to buy into the fact that they fall in love at first sight. And they totally sell the performance. Like, I do actually buy into the idea that they're in love in this film, which I think absolutely is essential to make the rest of the movie work.
Am I in, like, on my own here, or is she hot?
Oh, dude, she's totally hot.
Yeah, thank you. She still is now in her 60s, right? 70s, wherever she is. She's still a bit of a cougar, yeah.
She's married to Ted Danson. Yeah, Ted Danson. And when I was growing up, she was always like the hot mum. She was the hot mum in Step Brothers as well. She's smoking hot in that. The thing I find weird is because I've got this kind of mindset that she's like the hot mum. When she filmed this, she was like 36. Like she's like 5 years younger than my wife. Sorry, Beth, I shouldn't have outed you there. But it's like, I still see her and think of her as being an older woman. But in this, despite the fact that I can't shift that mentality, she's like, 8 years younger than me? God, that is so depressing. And the fact that Christopher Lloyd is only, 6 years older than I am now, that's a bit rough. Although I will say this, another reason I think this movie works, and make no mistake, this is Christopher Lloyd's movie. This is 100% Christopher Lloyd's movie. In the same way that the second movie was arguably Marty's film, even though I think the plot got in the way of everything. It was too plotty, too timey-wimey. They definitely give him a glow up in this film. I love the fact that the Western version of Doc is clearly more confident himself.
He's having so much fun. Handsome. He's so happy. Yeah.
Like, you actually buy in, even though she's an absolute smoke show, you buy into the fact that she would be interested in him, not just because of the Jules Verne thing. He's quite handsome in this film as well. Yeah. Not like super hot, but compared to his usual eccentric, like over-the-top self, he's had much a glow up. Calmer. Yeah, he's totally had a glow up.
I need to go back to my original point that I was going to bring up 10 minutes ago. Fucking hell, we do this all the time.
Good luck.
Yeah. No, when you said about introducing like you said, dude was introduced. This was another case of Marty introducing something before it was meant to be introduced. The Frisbee thing. Like he introduced, what was it in number one? Johnny B. Good.
The first one was a bit more socially kind of unacceptable now, isn't it, than a Frisbee?
But he introduced Frisbee into
the he taught black people how to sing in the first one, I think it was.
That is literally how Frisbee was invented. It was a Frisbee pie company. And then I think it was somewhere in Oklahoma or something. I got it in facts, but they were chucking these around then. And that's how Frisbee became. So he just introduced it.
Teaching Chuck Berry how to sing by a white man is a little bit more. You're just like, oh, really? We're going with this? Fair enough.
Yeah, but that was his cousin Marvin Berry's fault.
Marvin Berry, of course. And the thing is, people look at it now and they raise an eyebrow. I can assure you, back in the mid 80s, early 90s, not a single eyebrow was raised. Nobody thought, well, this is weird. We're just like, yeah, that seems legit. Why wouldn't you have taught them how to do good music? Oh my God, yeah, it seems so dodgy now. But speaking, as good as Christopher Lloyd is in this film, and he is the heart of this movie and fundamentally the reason why I think it works better as a movie than, say, the second one, the person who steals this movie, make no mistake, is Tom F. Wilson as Mad Dog Tannen. He is the best thing in this movie. He steals the film. And what I think is fantastic is, whereas in the other films, he's always been like, a high-level bully, although he did get a little bit rapey in the first one, I'll give you this. Immediately when he's established, you're like, oh, there is a genuine threat in this film. The first thing he does is ostensibly try to murder Marty by shooting at him, but he runs out of bullets, and then he lynches him. Yeah. And you're like, holy shit! He's a completely different beast.
And they make.
I think Tom F. Wilson is having legitimately the time of his life.
I mean, and what's great about it is, unless they mentioned his name, you would I keep watching him in this. Trying to say, well, you look exactly like Biff from 1 and 2, but you don't. He doesn't look like him at all. Like, if he just walked up and you didn't name him Mad Dog McTannen, you think he was being played by somebody else. Like Tom Wilson
could have been convinced, yeah.
Tom Wilson is great in this. And going back to like the Wild West and things like that, it's usually, again, the word glow up. It's all dramatized or romanticized more when you watch these films of the westerns and things like that. And this is being true to form, I would imagine, whereas nobody ever died in a shootout properly. He kept telling people, I'm just going to shoot you in the back. You're not going to see me coming. I'm going to just stab you in the back or shoot you.
Well, they set the stall out early before you even see him. When Marty's back in 1955 and he's reading a report on him. He's like, he reportedly shot 12 men, not including Indians or Chinamen. It's so hardcore.
But I do remember as well.
He could have killed loads more, but the others were like Indians and Chinamen, so those don't count.
But I loved it as well, but it couldn't be corroborated because he killed the reporter.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But that is the thing. Like he threads, tonally, he threads the needle perfectly, because he's still genuinely. He's probably the funniest character in the film, but he also presents a genuine threat. You're just like, every scene, he is both threatening and funny in equal measures. And I think it perfectly encapsulates, I think, why this movie works. Because you can't just have the love story. As charming as the love story between Clara and Doc is, you need that little bit of edge. And I don't think it's presented by Marty, who really is there to kind of keep the narrative moving. If anything, his narrative is maybe the weakest of the bunch. The whole thing about him, I think Doc mentions the fact that he has an accident. You kind of forget about it until the end of the film when you see the car pull out and you're like, oh yeah, I guess that was something they were going for. That all falls flat. The real kind of, interesting character outside what kind of drives the action, I guess, so to speak, is absolutely Mad Dog Tannen, who's fantastic in this film.
We talk about hair a lot on this podcast, like when somebody has fantastic hair. Now, nobody has fantastic hair in this, but I'll tell you who has a fantastic fucking mustache.
Oh, it's Tannen, yeah.
Marshall Strickland. Marshall Strickland's mustache is absolutely glorious. And as I was watching this film, and I was fixated on his mustache, the end of the film, when his deputy comes running in and arrests Tannen and sends his guys after the other one, I'm thinking, well, where's Strickland in this? Where's Marshall Strickland? There's a deleted scene where Tannen kills Marshall Strickland in front of his son.
Oh, see, that makes it. When I was watching it, I was like, where is James Tolkien in the scene? I was like, it doesn't make any sense that he wouldn't be there, because it's so perfect when he shows up and you realize he's the sheriff. You're like, of course he's the sheriff. And he has his little speech about discipline. It's a great little nod to the earlier films without overdoing it. But then at the end, when you're just like, you expect him to be there, he's nowhere to be seen. Yeah. So, yeah, that totally makes sense.
So the scene shows Buford Mad Dog Tannen and his gang shooting Marshall James Strickland in the back.
Yeah, of course.
Killing him in front of his young son. This is confirmed in the source material. The deleted scene depicts a good guy actually being killed on screen, shot in the back by the villain in front of his young son. According to Zemeckis, they felt that the scene was too grim for the tone of Back to the Future. So
it is a little bit.
I know, but it kind of answers like why he doesn't show, because he makes a whole song and dance at the song and dance. Which were being led by ZZ Top, by the way. I didn't notice that until this time around.
The fact that you mentioned great facial hair and you didn't mention ZZ Top. Well, I mean, and let's be clear, one of the great fucking needle drops in. I don't know why that song is so good. Yeah, because it's an actual ZZ Top. It's the song that they use in the credits, Double Back, but it's kind of like augmented and obviously made acoustic for the movie. It sounds so much better in the movie than it does in the credits. The movie version
was
is
just-
better than the actual version of Double.
I was fixated on that drummer within the band as well, the one who could turn his drum like
spin
360
the drum
and then
down.
stand. But no, I mean, facial hair is easy top. It goes hand in hand. But if we're taking them out of the equation, Marshall Strickland's mustache, and this is coming from a mustache aficionado at the moment who's trying to get his going, So
well, you've still got a bit of work to do. Got a bit of work to do.
I don't think I'll ever get it going down there.
Maybe not. Again, once you go handlebars, I don't think most people think cowboy nowadays. Their mind goes elsewhere. It has certain connotations, to we say.
Yes.
But before we get into the kind of nitty gritty of the movie, I just have to ask the question, because this is one of the more famous movie trilogies, and it seems like we're vaguely on the same page in terms of the order of the movies and our kind of overall quality of them. But where does this rank for you in terms of best trilogies? Because a lot of them you don't have the same connection to. So
before you go into it,
okay,
are we sticking with trilogies and not random? Because every trilogy that we've ever thought of now has stupid films attached, a 4 and a 5.
No. So Indiana Jones, when we say the trilogy, we're not counting 4 and 5. So the same with Toy Story would just be 1, 2, 3. Star Wars, we would obviously be talking about the original trilogy. The Godfather is no other movie, so it's The Godfather. Lord of the Rings, same story. I guess some people would throw in Captain America. I've seen some people suggest the Bourne trilogy, the Dollars trilogy with Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood, which seems worthy of mention considering the movie we're covering right now. The Nolan Batman trilogy, those are the kind of the big ones. Now,
you've missed a trilogy, and I'm very upset with you.
What's that one?
Die Hard.
Die Hard, yeah. No, that's a great shout.
Yes.
Like, I wouldn't quite have it at the top.
I would. And then you know me, I have a tattoo saying Yippee-ki-yay, so I'm pretty much going to have Die Hard trilogy.
No, that's a great point. That belongs, 100% belongs on this list. Yeah. I think it kind of runs into the same issue with, say, if you look at like Back to the Future, I think Back to the Future is maybe one of the most beloved trilogies in the same way Indiana Jones is. I'm not saying it's objectively the best, but because the movies are so inherently watchable, everyone just kind of loves the original Indiana Jones trilogy, the original Back to the Future trilogy. You'd almost put on any movie. I think if you're looking at it objectively, you can make an argument that Toy Story, the first 3 films, they're just so consistently brilliant. Lord of the Rings, people would make an argument for. I don't think The Godfather counts because as good as 1 and 2 are, 3 is miles off, so that doesn't count. Star Wars, I know it's not your trilogy, although you are growing on it. So
if we're looking objectively, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a difference between, as you say, objectively and then
100%, and then personal taste.
Yeah. So objectively, totally agree. Even now, like you said, I'm warm into Star Wars because my 7-year-old is forcing it down my throat. But I am warm into it, as I've said, so that's fine. But going personally, if I had to look at maybe the top 5 trilogies. For me personally, it would be Back to the Future, because we're mentioning it now.
That'd make my top 5 as well.
Indiana Jones.
Same here.
Yeah. Die Hard.
See, now you've said it, I almost have to consider it. It would be, it might just miss the top 5 for me.
Yeah. And this is one where we're going to, I guess.
Here we go.
Yeah. The Evil Dead trilogy. I think every film is great. I think every film is a bit better than the other.
The third one, as much as I like the third one, I do think it lets it down a little bit.
I don't think so. See, I have so much fun. But again, this is personal.
No, I get it. I get it.
But I struggle on the 5th now. I'm trying to think of films because I wouldn't put Lord of the Rings up there. Not a huge fan.
Does The Dark Knight Rises let the team down a little bit?
It kind of does. Although
it's been reappraised a little bit.
The best film of that is Dark Knight. Dark Knight Rises is better. I had an issue. So Dark Knight is the best film of the 3.
Even though the last act isn't as great as people suggest. Yeah.
But Dark Knight Rises is good. It gets better once you watch it a few times.
Yeah, and I do love Bane. I'm a big Bane guy. So
I'm not huge on Batman Begins.
Ooh. I like Batman Begins. Big fan. But it does feel, it's strange if you watch that trilogy. Batman Begins, which is supposed to be this really grand take on Batman, actually feels more comic booky than you remember.
Yeah.
Like even the aesthetic of the city. Like when you go and watch the second film, for instance, it's just Chicago. Whereas the first film, it looks like a city, but it's got the monorail thing. It's got what's the place? Not the Downs, the
Narrows.
The Narrows. Sorry, thank you very much. The Dark Knight would be up there for me. I mean, Lord of the Rings, I'm not the biggest Lord of the Rings guy, but as a trilogy, it's hard to kind of not appreciate just the brilliance of like putting those 3 movies together. So I'd probably sneak, I've always had a soft spot for the Matrix trilogy, but I don't think the second, third films are quite strong enough to say it's one of the best trilogies. So, but the point is, I'd probably have kind of like Star Wars, And because I love Return of the Jedi, I know the Ewoks, whatever. I still think Return of the Jedi is a fantastic popcorn movie. So I'd probably have Star Wars number one, Lord of the Rings, and then after that, you're kind of looking at Toy Story, Back to the Future, Indiana Jones.
Is there an argument for, I had to hear a second, the Mad Max trilogy? Because, I mean, to be fair, no, because Fury Road is the better one, and that's the fourth one.
And that's the fourth one, yeah. And I think when we did the podcast for Thunderdome, just as kids, I think we agreed if they had stopped halfway through Thunderdome, we might be talking seriously. Yeah. But the second half is ass. The second half of Thunderdome is ass.
I wanted to throw in as well, possibly the Cornetto trilogy. But what's good about them is they're different films. But The World's End, as we already said, lets the side down.
Yeah, The World's End is very much the Godfather Part 3 of that trilogy. So
I think I'm going to stick with 4. I think I'll have to stick with 4 trilogies for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. But I think we both agree, like, we wouldn't have it at the top, but Back to the Future makes both of our top 5s, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Back to the Future. Going 100%. Back to this film, well done. Good segue. Back to the Future does make the top 5. And yes, I'm so glad that we were able to rewatch. I'm so glad that we confirmed that we haven't finished the trilogy on the podcast revisits, because there was a bit of not an argument last week, but there was a bit of confusion last week. Yeah.
I think it's just one of those weird films, like, you know, as we're doing now almost, we talked a lot about 3 when we were covering 2, and then we just both kind of assumed that we covered 3 already. But
and we've kind of done it there. We talked a lot about 2. Covering you can't not talk about.
You can't help it. Well, like you said, they were filmed together. They literally, and there is no gap. It literally goes direct. They show you the end of Back to the Future 2, and it goes directly into 3. And if we're going to go back to the start of this film, one, I just have to question: I think Universal might have the best production company logo. Every time I see it, I'm just like, I think it's either that or maybe Paramount.
Paramount's good, but with Universal, you can do so much with it. Like Waterworld, they had the world come out. You know, I think like Day After Tomorrow, the world froze. You know, you can do so much with that logo.
So, see, now I'm even thinking, what's the best Universal one? What was it called? Scott Pilgrim was great. Oh yeah, they've done. I think Universal probably is the best one, and I love the fact at the start it's got Spielberg Presents. I was like, do we get? Because that was before even Robert Zemeckis shows up on screen. The first thing you see is Spielberg Presents. And that was back in the 80s and obviously early 90s. That was a massive selling point if you had Spielberg Presents at the front. Yeah. Is there anyone now who does? I was like, is the closest we get to this now like Lee Cronin's The fucking Mummy? I was like, what's going on in the world? I can't think of any director who like attaches their name. And unless Christopher Nolan did it, he's maybe the only person who could get away with it and have that kind of...
Are you saying get away with it or somebody that does it? Because I know somebody that does it. Both. Tarantino loves to put his fucking name on loads of things.
He did it for a while. He hasn't done it for a long time. But he never had the same appeal as Spielberg. I don't like when
No, I'm not saying he has appeal, but what I'm saying is he's somebody that does it now. Lee Cronin's Mummy is funny. You wonder, did they do that to differentiate it from the original Mummy? Or is it the fact that it's just Evil Dead? It is Evil Dead, but the Necronomicon is sarcophagus or whatever it was. It's literally his Evil Dead Rise.
I think what happened is they found out they were bringing back the Mummy, and they're like, we need to differentiate this. How do we do it? And Lee Cronin has chanced his arm and said, could we put my name at the front? And some idiot has said yes. Like anyone who knows who fucking Lee Cronin is. Absolutely bizarre choice.
Sorry, so going back to this film, I just want to, because we've talked a lot about the other films to this film. Because this is the trilogy, I want to talk about Marty's growth. Mm-hmm. Like his growth at the end when it comes to needles and things like that, when he doesn't have the race.
Yeah, slightly underplayed, but yeah, I got you.
Yeah, it is slightly underplayed. I totally understand that. But do you feel his growth is warranted for this film? Or do you put all 3 films together to understand this? Because you still get to the third film, and he's still, for some reason... even though he's seen what's happened to his life in number 2, even though he nearly got fucking battered because everyone keeps calling him a color, you know?
Yeah. Nobody wants to be called Jello.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but even in this film, they go back to this film, they called him Yellow again. Or are you scared? It's like, why do you need to prove yourself so much?
I get it. it's a character trait which I think in normal circumstances would have been ironed out in the first film and certainly in the second film.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned earlier, I think what happens is the plot gets in the way of character development in the second
Yeah.
film. I think there's basically zero. I mean, you see what happens to Jennifer. Jennifer, she disappears. They don't know what to do with her in the second film, and then the third film, they're just like, wait a minute. Is Jennifer still on the put? Like at one point, Marty McFly is like saying, "Oh God, I'm so in love with Jennifer. We saw each other, our eyes met. You know, we can't stop looking at each other. God, she's on the porch still, isn't she? Jesus Christ!" And they just like they jump to the end. Jennifer to this movie is what Finn is to the Star Wars sequels, where they put him in the first film. And then the second film, they suddenly decided or realized they don't have a plan for him. Yeah. And they're just like, we've got to try and squeeze him in somewhere. And it just doesn't work. Like at the end, like you said, when they finally have a bit of character developed for Marty, because the emphasis has been on Doc and his relationship with Clara, it's forced in at the end in the same way that Jennifer is just there at the end. And you're just like, oh, I guess she's in the rest of the movie.
It just feels like they went, oh shit, we need to actually tidy this up a little bit. It's 100%. Basically what it is. Because you call him Yellow right up until the end, and all of a sudden he goes, you know what? It doesn't matter if somebody calls me a colour. It's fine. I'm saying Yellow, by the way, because everyone just keeps calling him Yellow. I'm not going like racial.
Like in fairness, like it does play an important part in the film because it's establishing his relationship with Biff. With Buford Tannen all the way through, and him getting into these like showdowns and stuff. And obviously, there is that narrative strand again, which is very similar to the other film, where they've got the photo. Is he going to die? Am I going to die? Is the thing going to fall away? But I think about halfway through, they decide that part of the narrative. Not only have they done it before, but it's less important than the will Doc stay with Clara? So when Doc goes to Clara's house and he tells her, I have to leave, I'm from the future, and they have that showdown and she says, I wish you just told me the truth, blah, blah, blah. I think that's the point in the film where they're just like, this is the narrative direction of the film now. Of course, we're going to retain that. And of course, Marty's story is still technically important, but that becomes the driving force behind the narrative for the rest of the movie, as far as I'm concerned. And, I think they just realize that it's more interesting looking into Clara and Doc's relationship than it is another will they die, won't they die photo op, basically.
Yeah.
Because they've just done it before. And there is inherently a lot of repeated motifs, characters, just like, are we doing this again, just with hats on? So I think it's just because that part of the narrative felt fundamentally quite fresh. That's why they chose to go that way.
I tell you what I appreciated with this film as well compared to the other one is because obviously it has to be more grounded because it's Western. So it's way back in the past now. You're not in the future of 2015, which for us was 11 years ago. Is practicality. You're back to practical effects. There's no flying now. There's no, so the whole practical effects in this film I thought were great. I honestly thought.
Yeah, the only criticism I would say is that arguably this movie could maybe do with another set piece, because the set piece at the end, I think, is the most impressive set piece in the whole trilogy. It just takes a long time to get there. Once you get to the sequence with the train pushing the DeLorean, it's genuinely fantastic. And when they're on the train running, it all looks super convincing. You think of like a modern movie where they would use CG, and the one that popped to my mind is the start of Dial of Destiny, when Indiana Jones is running along the top of the train, and it just doesn't look legit. It looks rubbish. Whereas in this, because they're actually having to do it, and they obviously have to work around speeds and stuff, but I just bought into it. I'm just like, there's Doc and Martin running on the top of the train.
You totally believe Christopher Lloyd is the one struggling on all of that as well, because he, again, practicality. It was fantastic. Right up until the magic train arrives, by the way. As soon as the magic train arrives, it did look good because we've already seen things fly in, but I question how he was able to do all of that with steam, because that looked
the end, and it's quite odd that the train at the end, when it decides to fly off, it looks like a bat train. It looks like a bat train. Yeah. When the wings come out, I was like, why does this look like a Batman train? It's a bit of a stretch, but they're trying to wrap up the film. And, they kind of do a relatively decent job of tying a knot at the end. As you mentioned, it all feels very rushed. Once they get back to 1985, and by the way, the first thing I'm thinking is like, I forgot how much I love the Toyota, the pickup truck. Absolutely adorable.
It's lovely.
But like you say, when like there's a little nod back to Huey Lewis, Flea shows up and Jennifer is, we're kind of dealing with Jennifer's story arc, which kind of, we're going to tie this up super quick, guys. It's all rushed, but they do get there.
What was going on with Flea's hair in that car? It's like he had a perm, like a mohawk perm.
Could have been, I mean, let's be honest, Flea in 1990 with Red Hot Chili Peppers, I assume his hair changed day to day, truth be told.
So, we mentioned the train. I do have to bring it up. Another Michael J. Fox film where randomly maybe...
we're going there.
I got to go there. Like, I didn't think, because you've heard about the rumors, and like, not rumors, you've heard about it, you've seen it on like
nobody seems to be definitive when it comes to Teen Wolf.
No, nobody's Teen Wolf, definitely, whether or not that guy's dick was actually hanging out. But apparently that was a woman, by the way, whose shirt was just sticking out.
You would think in the era of like HD and 4K we would have figured this out, but I love the fact that there's still this kind of question mark. Is that a dude's dick in the back, or is it actually a woman? It's strange.
But in this, Vern is looking directly at the camera, telling the camera to come, and then points at his dick.
Dude, honestly, it was, because obviously I knew it was a thing at the end of the film, and I've seen this film before.
Yeah.
It was creepier than I remembered. Like it was like you say, it was the bit when he kind of goes to the cameraman, come here with his hand. I'm just like, dude, and then he points at his junk. I'm like, and the weird thing is, because I was like paying attention to Vern. I was like, all right, this is the bit where he gets weird.
I was doing the same.
Initially, he was very cute. He gives the dog a scratch on the head, and he's all very charming. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was a bet in school to see if he could get away with it. Like the way he looks at the camera, I'm like, burn that child with fire.
So, I mean, to be fair, I don't want to be mean to a 5, 6, 7-year-old.
He deserves it. He deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, his face had sex pest written all over him. But as he changed, it reminded me of that Macaulay Culkin film, The Good Son, with Elijah Wood, where he's like a serial killer. Macaulay Culkin is only ever villain role. Like, he could be sweet and innocent, and then he changes on a dime. And that is exactly what I was thinking with Vern. And I just couldn't believe, like, listen, you've seen it on social media, things like that. Everyone going, "Did you ever see this?" It was the same with Teen Wolf. But then watching it for the first time in a while, and concentrating more on Vern than anything else in that scene, because I knew it was coming. Just to see him do that, come hither with his
that's the worst
hand,
bit,
and then point directly at his junk.
If you just pointed at his penis, it would have been weird. But because of the gesture before, it makes it like quite dark, which is surprising considering that kid is like 7 years old or something.
He's not.
The whole sequence is very.
He's only got 2 credits to his name, right? You would never, unless you've looked it up, ever get the other credit. It was a 90s TV show. He was in one episode. We've mentioned it before.
He just did this and that was it.
And it was Erie, Indiana.
Oh, I remember Erie. I remember really liking that show. The only thing is,
but looking at that kid Vern, he suits Erie, Indiana.
He does. But that is the thing. You're only in like 2 things in your entire life, and one of them just happens to be Back to the Future 3, like a major motion picture from 1990, which people still watch to this day. Is as weird as it is, he does oddly have a place in cinema history now because people just know about Vern doing the whole come hither pointing at his willy thing. It's very strange. Speaking of strange, to bring it back briefly to the start of the film, did you find it odd? And maybe I've just missed some of the, maybe there's a bit of dialogue that explains all this. When Doc passes out and Marty takes him home, and you see the outside of his house and the car he pulls up in, you would think that Doc is a multimillionaire. I know it's 1955 and all that jazz, but his house is ginormous and his car is absolutely pimp. And I'm just like, what does he do for a job? What does he do?
We mentioned this in Back to the Future 1 as well. I do remember this because I was looking over for the reels that we're doing and things now. So I was looking at Back to the Future 1 and we mentioned the same thing because we totally believe in Back to the Future 1 that he was now living in a Burger King car park. And then you go back to 1955 and he's living in that fucking house. And even his
mansion.
Even his barn is massive. So I think what happened was because of the whole, he became a crackpot inventor thing. He totally blew all his family money.
Oh, I see.
So his family had money. They came over from, I think he said from Germany or whatever, and they were the von Brauns. So I think his family had old money. And then
that makes sense.
Yeah, basically from the 50s onwards, after he cracked his skull and he thought of the flux capacitor. But he was still a bit of an inventor then. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I think he just blew
Yeah, I
his
guess
family's
unless
money.
you present it to the world, like spend all your money on turn a DeLorean into a time machine isn't going to be particularly kind of, it's not going to make you a huge amount of money. So I'm going to
No.
cough now. Excuse me. But then we are talking about someone who is notoriously flaky. Like all the way through the film and all the way through the trilogy, for instance, Doc keeps going on about the dangers of impact in the space-time continuum. But the moment it's linked to saving his life, he's totally on board. There's no question. And as soon as a bit of skirt shows up, he's like, balls to the space-time continuum. I am all about Clara. I mean, I mentioned the fact earlier that, the movie is predicated on their romance and you buying into the idea that they fall in love. I do. It's very charming for the most part. However, I will say that after going on a single date with a woman, having a brooch made with her name on it, I was like, one, where did he get that made? Clara, with like the flower and stuff on it. I was like, that's a bit too creepy. It's too much. Yeah. I don't care how much you're in love. Having a silver brooch made with her name after one date, that's, dude, you gotta rein in.
That's buying a woman a gold watch or an engagement ring or a promise ring or anything like that after date one. Do you know, it's a bit too much.
Names on it. It's totally weird. It's totally weird. But one of the interesting things of this film, actually going back and revisit it, is the bizarre geography. So obviously, because it's a Western, they need the aesthetic to work. Now, Hillside, it is Hillside Valley, isn't it?
It's Hillvale?
Hillvale Valley? Or whatever it is. Hill Valley.
Yeah.
So Hill Valley is in Northern California, supposedly. Now, when you do that awesome sequence at the start, where they're supposedly on the edge of town, and they have the cinema, and the cinema was made, it was a custom cinema, it looks fantastic, and obviously you have the bit where he drives through and then the Indians show up. You can see in the background, they're clearly in Monument Valley in Utah.
Yeah.
Now, Monument Valley in Utah, which is used numerous times throughout the film, is like a 12-hour drive from Northern California. So the geography in this film is meant, and I just can't believe I never noticed it before, because it's not on the outskirts of town. Utah is a long, long way away from Hill Valley is supposed to be. But of course, they have to make it work because it needs to look like a Western. And nothing looks more like a Western than Monument Valley.
I did enjoy the joke, though, of that. Was you've got to think four-dimensionally. Those Indians will not be there. When you drive through, you won't. And he drives through and he goes, Indians!
I have a question about that, though. What are the Indians doing? So the Indians look, in that sequence, one, the Indians seem completely nonplussed by that a car just appears out of the blue and is clearly from the future and just starts driving in front of them. They just carry on their business. It looks like the Indians are chasing someone. But then you see behind them, the cavalry are clearly chasing the Indians. So the whole sequence I find quite confusing.
Well, no, I thought they were just running from the cavalry. And then, I thought
they had a chasey energy. Does that make sense?
They did, chasey energy, but they were the chasees, not the chasers. So
yeah, I guess so.
They're being chased, and all of a sudden, some weird metal monster shows up. You're not going to shoot it with an arrow?
Well, they did shoot it with one arrow.
That's what I mean. They did shoot with, and then he tore up his fuel. I was say his fuel cell. He tore up his fuel line.
Yeah. All right, I'll give you that. And let's be clear, it's not the weirdest thing in this film. I mean, the weirdest thing is one, just how small Hill Valley is, and it comes back to the whole idea: is are they all connected? Is there a sense of fate? Because as soon as he shows up, of course, where does he end up? On Seamus's farm. Now.
But again, being knocked out. Stop getting knocked out. Like after the second one, next time you wake up and you think it's your mother, no, it's not. Because
you think he would have figured it out by
three fucking times.
But he's concussed. He's always concussed, bless him.
I mean, this is a guy that is trying to fuck his mother, apparently.
Well, that's the weird thing, right? In the first film, so in this film, you get the whole, because the falling out with Crispin Glover and the directors, and they didn't bring back the sequels, you get an actor basically wearing Crispin Glover's skin for this film, which is weird. But what it also means is that while you have these like ongoing relationships and these kind of like historic kind of links going through the movies, instead of Leah Thompson's character being constantly married to Crispin Glover, because he's no longer in the movies, what they do is they shift it to her son. So it's like, when you show up in this film, you're like, well, Seamus just looks nobody seems to notice the fact that Seamus looks exactly the same. The only person who notices, actually, is Buford Tannen. But it is weird that his mum keeps falling in love with someone who looks exactly the same as her son. And it just leans into the whole incestuous nature of this trilogy.
What's also weird as well is the fact that, I don't know, McFly seemed to keep falling in love with a woman that looks exactly the same.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's very, very odd. And you think, because it started happening in the second film, it's like instead of being married to like someone who looked like Crispin Glover in Back to the Future 2 in the future, she's married to someone who looks exactly the same as her son. And then, of course, they end up with those weird kids who both look exactly like Marty again, which leans into the whole, is it incestuous? It's all very strange, to be truthful. Speaking of strange,
to be fair,
Leah Thompson's Irish accent, by the way.
The Irish accent
is mental.
Even McFly's Irish accent, even Michael J. Fox's Irish accent, it's questionable.
Hers is worse. Leah Thompson's is just bad, dude. It's just bad. I mean, I love Leah Thompson. I've mentioned on previous podcasts I had a total crush on her growing up, but her accent, her Irish accent in this film is an absolute abomination. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Luckily, she's not in it much, so she kind of gets away with it. But yeah, all that. She's married to someone who looks the same, all that business. It's all very dodgy as far as I'm concerned. I just think nowadays people are looking and go, with like the internet and social media, they're just like, dude, she can't keep falling in love with Marty McFly. This is bizarre.
She's another one as well. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw a picture of her or anything, but I think she's still pretty smoking as time has gone on.
She's aged incredibly well. Not quite as well. I wonder with, God, what's her name? Oh my God, Mary Steenburgen.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that benefits her, in the same way I would say about like Steve Martin, the reason I still think he looks so technically young is because he looked 50 when he was 30. And I think as hot as Mary Steenburgen was, she did always look like in this film, she's 36. She kind of looks like a hot 50-year-old.
I mean, she gives school teacher vibes.
She absolutely, which of course she's supposed to, but she 100% gives hot like school teacher vibes. But she looks like a hot 50-year-old, not a hot 36-year-old, if that makes sense. So I think that's why now she's in her like 70s and she still looks great. I know, but she looks the same.
She'll never be hot fucking a duck, will she? Let's be fair.
No, she won't. That is a unique aspect of Leah Thompson's, approval. I don't know what the word is there. Yeah, for some reason, like I don't think anyone else has that on their CV. It's like, oh, she's attractive. She also fucked a duck on screen.
Yeah,
like there's no getting around it. That is what happened in that kids movie. If you're like, what the hell are you guys talking about? If you haven't seen Howard the Duck, Leah Thompson absolutely has sex with a duck. She just does.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no that's the thing. There's no way to put a twist on it.
There's no rebuttal. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. She fucked a duck.
She fucked a duck. We mentioned earlier, like when she gets to the festival, that ZZ Topper there. Did you notice the cameraman? He only shows up for a second. He's actually the cinematographer, Dean Cundy. So it's just one of those cool little nods where he was the cinematographer on Jurassic Park, Apollo 13, Escape from New York. It's like a total boys club, this film. But I just thought it's cool when they kind of sneak these guys in.
I couldn't find, because I didn't know what his name was, but I was trying to the gun seller.
Mm-hmm.
He looked familiar as fuck, but I couldn't find his name.
It's weird you say that, because the one that drove me crazy and I couldn't quite find him is there are 3 gamblers in the bar. So when Marty goes in earlier, and obviously when Doc comes back later on and he has his one whiskey, an absolutely fantastic scene. There's the 3 guys who are always there gambling, and one of them has a really distinct voice. I'm sure he's one of like the famous characters in like a Disney film or something like that. But I couldn't find him.
The 3 old-timers in the saloon were played by Dub Taylor, Pat Buttram, and Harry Carey Jr., who played sidekicks, town drunks, and colourful townsfolk in hundreds of westerns and television shows.
Nice. But the guy on the right, if we're looking at him, the guy on the right, he's got such a distinctive voice. I'm sure he's done voice work, but I can't quite place him. I couldn't find which one he was.
Well, I don't know, because he...
It doesn't matter. We'll have to look.
He died in
like... no good for the podcast.
He died in like 94, not after... Dub Taylor died in like 94, so I wouldn't say it was him. Yeah, I don't know the others.
Oh, hey ho. But to bring it back to this film, I was going to say, like, if there's one thing you take from this film, if you can find yourself a Clara, get yourself a Clara. She is such, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, from minute one, not only is she ride or die right the way through the film, but she is such a goer. Like when he's like at the festival and he's like tripping over his words, would you want to? And the way she says, I'd love to, as in I love to dance. I'm like, wow, dude, you are having sex tonight. The way she said, she's just smoldering those, like she's both like sweet, adorable, but she has just that undercurrent of sexiness. But all the way to, it's like, The fact I was going to say ride or die, she literally, to get back with her boyfriend, who she met like 3 days ago, she was willing to jump off a horse onto a moving train to get after her boyfriend. I was just like, that was the best.
I'm going back. I'm going to applaud your ear, mate. I'm going to applaud your ear because I let you talk because I was just looking at Pat Buttram, who died in '94. Was the voice of Sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood.
Dude, honestly, I swear to God, I was like, I'm sure I heard him in Robin Hood, but I couldn't place the character. I was just like, I was thinking Robin Hood.
He was the voice of Chief in Fox and Hound. He was the voice of Napoleon in the Aristocats. He was in a Goofy movie. He was in Rugrats. He's been all over your childhood.
You know what I mean? Like, he was one of those, like, he was never playing, like, Porky Pig in Warner Brothers, or he wasn't fucking Piglet in, like, Disney films. It was always kind of, like, second-tier characters. But, it was that Robin Hood was what jumped to mind, like, 70s era Disney, like, or maybe early 80s. But I was just like, I couldn't place the character, and that's why, for obvious reasons. But he's got such a distinctive, which ridiculous.
Which I'm annoyed at now because I've read Robin Hood from 1973, and now all I can think is Robin Hood and Little John walking through the forest. Oodle lolly golly, what a day!
What I genuinely love that film. I mean, I don't know how it's held up. I know it's seen as like a dark period for Disney, but I always used to love Robin Hood and Sword in the Stone, but especially Robin Hood. That one's I watched that tons when I was a kid.
Did they remake the Aristocats then? Because I always thought it was a 90s film, but it was 1970s.
Oh, no. 70s. The 70s is fuck. It's weird. If you go back and watch it, it's like really trippy. There's like an acid scene. It's very strange, very 70s, but a great movie. Speaking of other animated films, the whole scene where Doc is getting drunk, it totally reminded me of Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, like, he was this guy was a voice of Bullet in Roger Rabbit as well. He's one of the Bullets.
Oh yeah. So there's the crossover. But I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Doc drinks like my wife. I love the fact that he just holds the drink for like basically the whole night and drinks it and then passes out.
I've never seen your wife drink. I know she doesn't drink. I've never seen her with a drink in her hand. Yeah.
She has like half a beer with me. She drinks it too quick, and you can see the color in her cheeks. It's just like, okay, this has to end now. But when he makes the barkeep makes wake up juice, and you see that it's mostly Tabasco, obviously it's exaggerated and played for laughs. But I've seen first half what a drink like that can do to someone. I may have told the story before.
Sorry, before you tell your story, 1990 a 1990s bottle of Tabasco, by the way, like they couldn't get an old school.
A different beast.
Yeah, but basically, so they had a 1990s bottle of Tabasco, not an old school Tabasco. They had.
Oh, was it just? I thought it looked very.
It was just they bought one from the shop and said, "We'll just use this. It's fine." Sorry, tell your story.
No, it's just like we went out. This was when we were like in our early 20s, and everyone was absolutely smashed. It was one of the guys' birthdays, and we went to the Mexican bar in Cardiff. It's on Mill Lane. It's been
Las Iguanas.
Los Iguanas, thank you. So we're all standing around the bar, and the dude was like, "Oh, I've made this homemade chili tequila. Do you want to try some?" And we're just like, "Yeah, sure, whatever, dude." And he's like, looked at us like, seriously, he's like, "Dude, this is legit hot." And we're like, "Whatever." And we're all standing around the bar, and I remember it's like, I have such a vivid memory of it. I was down the one end, and we all took the shot, and I looked down the table, and I just saw one by one people's faces start to panic.
Yeah.
And honest to God, it sobered up everyone immediately. And I've got a pretty high tolerance for heat. It is, without question to this day, the hottest thing I've ever had by a country mile. It blew your goddamn head off. But in terms of just immediate sobriety, there is nothing quite like something that goddamn hot.
Speaking of the drinks in this as well, I've never noticed before. When Marty, as Clint Eastwood, goes into the bar the first time and he asks for ice water and they tell him to put his face in the trough outside. And they go, in here we pour whiskey, which, man after my own heart, in here we pour whiskey. But when that whiskey spills onto the countertop, it smokes.
Yeah, that's a concerning sign, I suppose. It's pretty hardcore whiskey.
I was thinking, no wonder Doc fucking fell on his ass. That thing was acid.
Ridiculous. Although when I see it in movies like that, and you think of like when we did Desperado, and any movie where it has like an old crusty bar, whether it be one in the Old West or it's just like a really budget bar, and they just always serve his whiskey. There's something about the vibe where I'm not even a big whiskey drinker, but I'm just like, I kind of want to go to that bar and drink whiskey.
Yeah.
Even if it does smoke off the table, I can't be a good thing. It's still cool.
Speaking of the bar, I'm going to give you the randomest fact that I found. Mm-hmm. Okay, because I watched the credits at the end and it had a special thanks to somebody. And I thought, what the fuck who was he in this film? Do you know when they make him dance? They make Marty McFly dance and he's doing
and he does the whole Jackson thing.
Yeah.
Moonwalk. Yeah.
And
it really does age the movie, but yeah, very cool.
But his feet are squeaking along the floor, and he's making these noises. Yeah, Michael Winslow did the voice of the footsteps.
Really?
Yes, it said special thanks to Michael Winslow, and I went, what the fuck is he doing in this film?
Did
And then
they
when you Google it,
I mean, what I mentioned a minute ago, like jobs for the boys kind of thing, that feels like one of those where somebody's like mates with Michael Winslow. And in fairness, Michael Winslow was a big deal in the late 80s and 90s. You know, this is like Police Academy, still kind of in and around, not quite at its peak, it's probably past, but he just done Spaceballs not too long ago. And we're just like, let's just get like Winslow in. It's like, oh, cool, what am I doing in Back to the Future? Oh, you're doing a squeaky floor? I feel like I could have done the squeaky floor, dude. I could have done the squeaky floor.
I wonder. I do wonder if
he's totally overqualified for that job.
Did he do it in post production, or was he on set off camera just doing squeaky floor noises?
Yeah, it seems a bit much. And that whole sequence is probably, it feels the most forced in the film. It does take me out of the movie, the whole Michael Jackson thing. It feels of its time. But a lot of the best scenes are actually in the bars. And I was noticing, like, when you have when Buford Tannen shows up for the showdown with Marty at the end, I'm not sure if you notice, obviously this movie is scored famously by Alan Silvestri. The score suddenly gets very serious and it sounds just like Predator, but only in that sequence.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, yeah, of course, it's an Alan Silvestri score. And I don't mean that in a critical way, because you could make the argument, as brilliant as John Williams is, at any given moment, you could be watching fucking Indiana Jones, Superman, or Star Wars. But that sequence at the end in particular, I was just like, God damn, this just sounds like Predator. But it just added a bit of edge, I suppose. But I do love that showdown at the end between Buford and Marty.
I felt a little bit bad for his gang.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know some of the like one or two of them were used as like Needles' gang in the future as well. But throughout it, you had like I think Jason Scott Lee was one of the gang members in number 2. Billy Zane was Matches. And I think it keep using his gang, and Billy Zane was Matches. Billy Zane was one of the gang in number 1 as well.
Tricky to get Billy Zane in 1990. He's got a bit of heat in 1990, probably.
It was filmed back to back. It was filmed back to back with 2. He was already in 2.
Oh, he's already in 2. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that does seem odd. Maybe they just didn't look the part. Maybe they just looked too clean cut. But then I'm sure they could have done a bit of work. Yeah, it seems odd that they've got all these connections, that it wouldn't just be the same gang throughout the film.
Because that's what they're hinting at. Like, they all travel through. Like, apparently, no ancestor has ever left Hill Valley when it was created.
Yeah, and they're all traveling through time, but fundamentally fulfilling the same kind of roles and stuff. Yeah, it would totally make sense if it was the same actors in the same roles. But especially like for the gang, it would just be like a cool little nod, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It does seem quite strange. But like I said, I like Buford. I like the gang. I do feel like, to bring it back to Star Wars again, they are a little bit the Knights of Ren, where you feel like they're going to do something, but they never really get to do anything in the entire film.
Are they the all in red dudes?
No, they're all in black dudes.
Okay.
They're
Who are the all in red dudes?
They're the kind of Praetorian Guard, I think. They're the ones who kind of they have like the big sequence in The Last Jedi, which is one of the best.
Where they were fighting with
Rey and Kylo.
Yeah.
So
they're not the Knights of Ren.
No, the Knights of Ren show up in the third film again. It's always hinted of, like, they keep talking about the Knights of Ren. They're all dressed in black and they look badass, and then they just do jack shit, and then they kind of force them into the last one. But as we all know, that last
I've only watched those films once. I mean, I will be watching them again because we're getting close. We got to watch. We're halfway through. Riley got really bored of the Clones one, because there's a lot of exposition
of the prequels. Yeah. Well, that's probably the worst Star Wars film.
But I think
the second worst. Sorry.
I think with all the talking, he probably won't like the number 3, Revenge of the Sith. He might like the end of it.
There's plenty to like in Revenge of the Sith.
I don't know. I can tell you one thing: he's leaving the room when they have that fucking weird space opera chat.
That's a great sequence, though. I mean, I get it. Like, he's young, but it's a great sequence. But anyway,
I'm 40. I had issues with that fucking.
Oh, dude, that scene. Yeah, but you watch it, you won't start. That's a good scene. Speaking of like weird dialogue in this film, we mentioned, like, this film, like, the narrative is predicated on strange coincidences that run throughout the film. The guys talking on the train about Doc, who just happened to be sitting behind Clara. And I'm just like, come on, guys. Is that the best we could do? It's but we need to get Clara over here. So she just so happens to be sitting behind the right guys at the right time. All right.
Not just that. The one guy by the window was talking to the other dude like he wasn't there. Like they were on he was catching him up. And no, they were both in the bar together. Because he's like, oh,
Yeah.
what was his name? What was her name? Oh, it was Clara. Yeah, it was Clara. So why are you having this conversation? But it's the same, and I'll mention my one. I got two Rob takes. I'll mention my one of my Rob takes now because we're doing it, and it's the time machine plan. Again, it's to get Clara somewhere. Marty and Doc are the only ones who know what's going on with the plan. The only ones who need to know what's going on with the plan.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they wrote time machine on the model.
Yeah, that is absolutely for Clara.
Yeah.
100%. That is just for her. It makes no sense. It's like, well, you know what this is? Yeah, dude, the thing that looks like a DeLorean. Yeah, you don't need to make it.
You don't need to write time machine on it. Like, it was absolutely, but it was just to get Clara moving again. So they were on the train to get her back to town, and then as soon as she's in town, they need to get her to. So the model's there, so they need to get
to
her
to the train,
and
it's such a stretch. But you say that, and this might not be a stretch. This would be a Liam take, I suppose, but it might actually be accurate. So when the guys tell, they're telling the story, and Clara's like, "Oh, is it a guy with white hair and big puppy dog eyes?" And she decides she loves him. Blah blah blah. She stands up and pulls the string.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Stops the fucking train.
I didn't know if there was an emergency brake back in 1885. I didn't really.
Dude, there's no way you can just pull a string and it just stops the train. There's no way.
There's no way. It has to make a signal because it's only stopping that car, I would imagine. It has to make a signal to the rest of them. I mean, I don't know how trains work.
I guess it could be like an alarm, like I want the train to stop at some point. But the fact it just seemed to be like she pulled it and the train just came to a grinding halt. Yeah, I'm just not having that.
No, I was like, I mean, electric trains, I get it, but this was a steam train. The couplings are not connected by. And again, nobody's questioning the fact that fucking Doc is using electricity in his shop. Nobody questions it.
Yeah, nobody questions really anything in this film. They just kind of go with the fact that he has a sniper rifle. They just like, okay,
that was fantastic. It took him like Marty's hanging. And he's like, oh, let me just set up my massive.
Oh, he takes his time. He's being showy for sure. He's like, I'm definitely making this shot first time.
Yeah,
absolutely. But then nobody seems to be in a rush. It's like at the end. So after they have the showdown with Buford and he punched him, and it's fantastic. This is the only trilogy where a running theme is Minion, but I'm all on board with that. And when he spits the Minion out, it is genuinely gross.
It is gross, yeah.
No facial hair. But they're just like, they hear the train then, like, oh shit, can we make the train? He's like, if we make this shortcut, we might be able to make it. So they're in a rush. Then he just stops and has a chat with Seamus. Just like, dude, I thought we're in a rush to make this train, which is absolutely essential, by the way, because not only if we don't make the train is this plan fucked, the DeLorean's already on the tracks. The DeLorean will be smashed to fuck if we don't make it. But let me just have this little moment with Seamus. Just
so it won't be smashed to fuck because they put it on the other. They make them stop by the switch track. They switch it over. So it was on the unfinished track, wasn't it? So the train was never going that way.
Give you, my apologies, my apologies. Still. I feel like they could have been a little bit more urgent.
They stopped them right at the switch track. I would have stopped them there because they stopped them at the switch track. They went through the switch track and then stopped the train to have their plan. Anyone on that train could have just walked 100 meters and gone, well, there they are.
Yeah. Although I do love it when they pull up on the train, they're just like, is this a holdup? It's a science experiment.
Yeah.
I was like, that line is very charming. But yeah, well, like once you do get to the train, as I said, it takes a while to get there. And one of the criticisms of this film, and as we mentioned, like one of the reasons maybe it wasn't our favorite film when we were younger, is that it is slower and it doesn't have that array of set pieces. But when it does build up to this final set piece, it is absolutely fantastic. And you have like, I guess what you would refer to on previous podcasts as Chekhov's hoverboard. As soon as he puts the hoverboard in the car, you're like, well, they're going to have a moment. They do at the end of the film. It's all very cool. The train looks super effective. I love the fact that when Clara shows up, there's the whole like, don't look down. I don't think in the history, not of movies, but of man, has anyone ever said, don't look down, and the person hasn't looked down immediately. Yeah. I think it's impossible. It's the whole, like they say, try and eat a jam donut without licking your lips. You just can't. It's like it is impossible. You can't do it. I think it's like that with don't look down. I could be standing on the floor, nothing around me. If someone says to me, "Don't look down," I'm like, I'm gonna have to look down. I have to look down.
For me, it's don't push that button. Don't tell me not to. Don't tell me not to push a button.
You gotta push it. I mean, saying that, as much as I love this whole sequence, and when the train goes off the edge down into whatever the ravine is called at that point, Eastwood Ravine or Clara Ravine, whatever. It looks fantastic. I think they slightly overdo it with the explosion, but I think it looks great. The only thing which doesn't look good, and you could say this is maybe true of the entire movie because this is a handsome looking movie, is when Doc is carrying Clara when they're on the hoverboard and they kind of float off. And it's implied that they're floating off, but they're actually out speeding the train.
Yes.
So theoretically, that hoverboard is going like, what, 85 miles per hour? And they're all just like super cash
the other
on
thing
a
as well,
kid's toy.
Before we move on as well, one more question I have to ask is, did he steal another train to make his time machine train? Because the other one blew up at the bottom of the ravine. He didn't go down to the bottom to grab that train. So did he?
But it's been, at this point, obviously, it's been at least, so how old is his eldest kid? Like, he's got to be like 8, 9 years old.
7 or 8, yeah. So it's been a couple of years.
So he's been there for a while. And you've got to remember, if nothing else, he has got, like, not like he's already a super talented inventor, and he's finding himself in 1885. He can make some serious money. Some serious
money. If people know what he's doing in there, and they're going to hang him as a witch.
There is that. But then, you know, I guess you can make the argument that capitalism was more important. You know, this is the rise of the United States. So maybe he gets away with it. I've got to assume that he's just decided, listen, I'm just going to start creating stuff people need. I'm going to make a fortune, buy a train, get the money required to turn this steam train into not only a steam time machine, but a flying steam time machine.
Not just that.
Like you say, is a stretch even in this movie.
Did he insinuate as well that he was going to space? Where are you going now? Back to the Future? Already been there, and then they just flew off. I'm pretty sure they were just saying, like, we're off to space.
I never read it as that, but I did think it was interesting that you didn't get a hint. No. That it wasn't like, oh, we're going to
He's been to the past, he's been to the future. The only other thing is alternate reality or space.
Maybe. Well, it worked for Fast and Furious, so I wouldn't have worked for Back to the Future. Needless to say, I think we can all agree, and we'll get to this in one of the sections in a minute, is that they stopped when they did. But before we get there, should we move on to Rob's other take, because you've already covered one?
That's okay. So the other take I had, not as good as the time machine one, but I will do it anyway. The pickup truck reverse fucking annoyed me. They're at the racing lights at the end with Needles. You know, let's race. What are you, coward? And he's making this big show. We're going to race. We're revving the engines. Needle on the green light fucking goes. All you have to do is not go anywhere. Needle's already gone. Because you've reversed that truck like you're a rally driver. At any point, you could have flipped that truck and had your accident. Just stay still.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. Like, it does, on a visual level, it works. It looks kind of cool. But it's also, to your point, absolutely unnecessary. All you have to do is do nothing. Literally do nothing, and it works exactly the same. I totally agree. Favorite scene for me, it's either the train sequence at the end or basically anything with Buford Tannen. I could literally pick any sequence because I think he's that good in this film.
Train finale. The final time travel sequence is pure Spielberg and Zemeckis spectacle. The runaway train, the improvised rocket boosters, Doc dangling for his life, Clara refusing to let go, Marty trying to keep the DeLorean on the tracks long enough to hit 88 miles per hour. It's chaotic, emotional, and the perfect capstone to the trilogy's escalating time travel madness.
Yeah, it's a good point. And like you said, we've actually mentioned him much. Obviously, as Spielberg present, but this is a Robert Zemeckis film. And, you know, this is a great looking film. And it's easy to forget that he went on an unbelievable run in like the mid 80s to the night. Like he did Back to the Future 1, 2, 3, Death Becomes Her, Forrest Gump, Castaway, The Polar Express. And then all of us, no, fairness, you can make an argument that his run went right up until like the mid teens because he did Flight. And he did The Walk, which is a pretty big hit in 2015. But he is on a stinker of a run at the moment. He's done, Pinocchio, The Witches remake, Welcome to Marwen, Here, that film, that Tom Hanks film nobody went to see. He needs a fucking hit, man, because his last four films have just not landed at all. But he had, in fairness, it was probably due because he was on like arguably a heater for the best part of 30 years. But yeah, he's on the coldest run of his career by a country mile.
Of all of them, I didn't mind Welcome to Marwen. I'm never going to watch Here. That looks ridiculous.
It looks like a Robert Zemeckis tech film to me.
I'm not going to watch Pinocchio.
Nope.
My wife and I started The Witches after we did The Witches on Here. Mm-hmm. We started it, and as soon as we started it, we were like, yeah, I'm good. So we turned it off.
No, I was one of those where it was on Sky and I was like, I'll give this 10, 15 minutes. And I was like, oh yeah, it's not very good, is it? It's not very good. But in fairness, Robert Zemeckis, you know, when people look back, it's like he's made an abundance of absolutely fantastic films. And I put this in that list. You know, it's not the greatest film of all time, but this is a really good, well-directed movie for the most part. Where were we? Oscar season. So in which we hand out 3 Oscars and 3 Razzies in categories of our choosing. So for me, the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor very boringly goes to Tom F. Wilson as Buford Tannen. That's not very exciting. It's not very clever. I just think he's that good.
Yeah, I mean, you've just done a proper Oscar there.
Yeah, that is just a proper Oscar. The Oscar for creepiest wee bastard goes to the kid playing Vern for the like you said, we knew this was coming. It was definitely creepier this time. It was something about it. I was just like, oh, dude, that kid is it wasn't, I thought it was going to be like a cute little thing where he points down his junk. I was just like, no, dude, the look on his face, the actions he takes, it's creepy as fuck. And the Oscar for surprising glow up goes to Christopher Lloyd as Western version of Doc. They do a great job of just not overdoing it, but they just turn up his confidence a couple of notches. They sort his hair, they give him a tan, and he just looks handsome enough to get away with Clara, I think. And one last one, if I was going to sneak it in, the Oscar for Ride or Die Girlfriend goes to Clara Clayton.
Oh, yeah. I mean, after 4 days, why not?
Absolutely.
Right, for me, the Oscar for the best use of a Western setting in a sci-fi franchise is Back to the Future 3.
You're not going to say Cowboys versus Aliens?
No, God, no. It shouldn't work, but it does. Somehow the Old West fits Marty and Doc like a glove.
It totally does.
The Oscar for the best supporting performance by a steam locomotive is The Train. It's the real MVP. It does more acting than half of the cast of Wild Wild West. I don't know why I felt the need to attack Wild Wild West.
Well, Wild Wild West is quite bad, in fact. Yeah. It is quite bad.
Yes, we are talking about the train that ends up in the ravine.
Sorry, all this little section is making me realize is that there are a lot of bad sci-fi westerns. Have you ever seen what's it called? The one with Yul Brynner, Westworld.
Westworld, yeah, I've seen that.
I've never seen it. Is it any good? I know it's held in high regard.
It's all right. Yeah, it's not too bad.
They were talking about a remake for years. Yeah. Supposedly Arnold Schwarzenegger was connected to a remake.
I mean, well, we did see the what's called, didn't we? Though the TV show.
The TV show. Yeah. I quite like that.
So the final Oscar for the best emotional payoff goes to Doc Brown. From mad scientist to romantic hero, that man earns his happy ending.
Yeah, and like you said, it is his movie, and it's all the better for it, I think. The Razzie for Forced Tombstone related exposition goes to The Tombstone. They just push it a little bit too far with the killed by Biff Tannen for. Sorry, I keep calling him Buford Tannen for this reason. In love with this guy. I'm like, all right, guys.
You're telling me as well. In the Wild Wild West in 1885, in a backwater town, there was no spelling mistakes on the tombstone.
Well, I mean, when you put that many words on it, you think it'd be almost inevitable. The Razzie for absurdly lucky timing goes to Clara and the train exposition. And the Razzie for weird relationship goes to the Back to the Future trilogy. Weird relationships. And for the reasons we mentioned earlier, it all just gets a little bit too incestuous. Yeah. The fact that Michael J. Fox just basically starts playing his mum's husband in different timelines is just, the more you think about it, the creepier it gets.
Yeah. The Razzie for the worst horse riding technique goes to Marty McFly. He's riding that like a man who's only ever seen horses in cartoons.
Indeed, but one thing that's worth mentioning, and you only get a glimpse of it at the start of the film, is just that reminder that he's a great cinematic runner. He's not quite Tom Cruise, but he has a very distinct run, almost like Jean-Claude Van Damme. Jean-Claude Van Damme, whenever he runs, I always think of Cyborg. The way he runs in that film is just so unique. Marty McFly has a touch of that. So when he runs down the street at the start, I'm not sure if it's effective. I'm not sure if it's fast, but it is memorable.
The Razzie for the worst attempt at blending in goes to Marty's 1950s looking cowboy outfit.
Yeah. It's pretty rough.
And finally, the Razzie for the worst use of Irish accents goes to the McFly ancestors. Those accents wander more than the DeLorean. Not even time travel can save them.
With special mention to Leah Thompson, who's is the worst in fairness. Any alternative titles to this film? I'll be amazed if there are.
No, we can move on to the next section.
Next one. Facts. There's going to be a lot of facts to this, but any we haven't covered?
Michael J. Fox compared the filming of all 3 movies to being back in school, as it seemed like someone was always teaching him something for the films. During the course of filming the trilogy, he was taught how to play the guitar, ride a horse, and shoot a gun.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wish I got to do that in my job. Oh, how was work today? Well, I got to learn how to ride a horse. That's pretty cool. Strange for an office job, but sure.
What else have we got here? In the first movie, Doc tells Marty that he was inspired to create the flux capacitor after hitting his head on the bathroom sink while trying to hang a clock over his toilet. In this movie, when Doc freaks out after seeing Marty in his house and runs into the bathroom, you can just see the clock hanging above the toilet on which he slipped.
Nice touch.
Franchise trademark. In every film in the trilogy, Marty is knocked out and then wakes up and asks, "Mum, is that you?" After which a character played by Leah Thompson tells him to just relax there now and mentions for exactly how long he's been out cold. He then believes the preceding events were a horrible nightmare, after which a Thompson character tells him that he is safe and sound now in whatever place or time he is, making Marty realize it was no dream. He then gets up and is puzzled by the appearance of his mum. I mean, again, after the second time, just...
And Leah Thompson always plays those scenes like 10% too sexy.
Yeah.
So you can imagine him waking up and being just super confused. Like,
especially in number 2, because she's got like more cleavage and everything. She's gone full on.
The whole boobs thing. And Leah Thompson, there's always just something slightly too sexy about her, I think, considering she's playing his mum.
The bandana Doc Brown is wearing is made from the shirt he wore in Back to the Future Part 2.
I was wondering what that was. Yeah. That is so. I was like, is that like a deleted sequence? Did like Clara make it something? No, it's the shirt. That is very cool.
Tom Wilson based his characterization of Buford Tannen on Lee Marvin's Liberty Valance in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Very cool. He's like, you could, I mean, obviously if you turn down the comedy a little bit, but he wouldn't be out of place in a genuine Western. Yeah. He's so good.
The name on the manure wagon in 1885 reads A. Jones. In Back to the Future, the name on the manure truck from 1955 reads D. Jones. So it's a family business.
Nice. Well, as I said earlier, like manure is a running theme throughout this trilogy.
Yeah.
It sounds weird saying it, but it totally is.
Clara can be seen behind Marty and Doc while looking at the map at the train station.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I think that wouldn't be when she's arrived, so that might be a bit weird. What else have we got here? The scene when Marty and Jennifer kiss on the porch was the only scene shot while on Back to the Future Part 2 was being made.
Oh, cool. Yeah, makes sense, I suppose.
You already mentioned Dean Cundy.
And don't get me wrong, I'm always happy to see Elizabeth Shue. I mean, another one who I had a big crush on when I was younger. But goddamn, she's giving short shrift in this film.
In some shots for the scene when Marty is dragged by the horse, Michael J. Fox was actually being dragged by the Benny the Cab go-kart from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
That's bizarre. Although there is one sequence where the camera's like, you see his face come right up to the camera. It's just like, oh, he is being dragged, and he doesn't look particularly happy about it.
No. Actually, I think I missed that one. He actually was hung for real life, as my son would say. When they were hanging him, I'm just trying to find it now, but I think I remember it. When they were hanging him, he was actually being hung and he went unconscious for a bit.
That is pretty hardcore. That is a commitment to your trade. I thought being dragged across, and that would have come right after being dragged across the floor as well. So yeah, rough day of shooting, that's for sure.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that, mate. There's hundreds of facts. I can't go through all
of course there are. It's Back to the Future film. Hug to the Future, which is a suitable name for this. Remake, sequel, Let It Die, Leave Well Alone. I mean, this is one of the easiest ones. Obviously, you leave it alone. You just have to leave it alone. This is one of those rare, untouchable movies, sequels, whatever we call them. You can't remake it. For obvious reasons, you're never going to get a sequel because you can't do it without Michael J. Fox. So it's just like, leave well alone. That's the end of it.
Leave it well alone and keep Robert Zemeckis alive because he's the one at the moment that's stopping any remakes or sequels. So,
God damn it, it would just be the worst if they tried to. Yeah. I just a remake of this feels like sacrilege. It really does. Yeah. Make a change. So if you're going to make one change to make this movie better, I mentioned earlier, it could probably do with one more set piece to really make it kind of jump. But the end also feels like it's sprinting to type loose narrative strands with Jennifer and the whole accident thing. It's incredibly rushed. I get it. You don't want to turn that sequence into you don't want to the Lord of the Rings ending where it's just like it keeps going and going. But it's clear as day that they get there and go like, guys, we've got 3 or 4 narrative strands we have to tie up in the next. Looking at my watch, 2.5 minutes. So let's get to it.
For me, it's let Clara learn the truth earlier. Instead of the last-minute reveal, let Clara discover Doc's secret sooner. It would deepen their relationship and make her decisions to stay or go feel more earned. I mean, you can still have her getting stuck on the train and having... Because she was following them and stuff, trying to put 3 people in a DeLorean, probably. Yeah. So you still have all those things, but just let her know earlier instead of this whole... And you don't have those force feed moments about how to get her to the train either. She's already at the train.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's just kind of the nature of the beast, isn't it? And as we mentioned earlier, the one that suffers the most from this is part 2 because it really leans into the whole time travel thing. But because of the time travel structure of the films, is they almost have to put plot first, and you can feel that with the characterization coming second. And that is a perfect example. I think if this was just a Western, you'd move that forward a bit. But they were just like, oh, but we've got all this fucking timey-wimey stuff to deal with. And like you said, in this film, you definitely feel it less because the emphasis is on character and narrative more than it is plot. But it's still there. It's still an issue which runs through. As great as the first film has, even that has elements of that. And it's just, what are you going to do? There's a lot of exposition to be getting out one way or t'other. And a lot of, we need to get people into certain places and for it to make sense because of the time travel nonsense. So yeah, it's tricky, but I absolutely agree with you. In terms of video games, there was one, it was, because of the time, it was released on the Amiga, the Amstrad, the Commodore 64, the Atari ST, the Spectrum, Mega Drive Master System. They were all pretty decent. They were all developed by Probe Software and published by Imageworks. They were all actually a pretty big hit. It looks like the Commodore Amiga version might have been the best one. The famous one was probably the Mega Drive one, but it was notoriously dark and surprisingly difficult. All of them actually followed a similar structure. So it's one of those games where it's basically 4 games in one. Yeah. It's not like you just do one thing for the whole game. There's one bit when you're dock on a horse. There's another bit which is more like an old-fashioned shooter and it's top down. Another one where you're doing the gun game like Marty does in this film.
Yeah.
Does that have anything to do with the plot? Really? No, but it's cool and it works in a video game. So pretty decent adaptation back in 1990, which came to everything. If you're going to make a video game today, the boring answer is it's Rockstar and it's Red Dead Redemption, of course, because it's a Western. It just has to be.
If you can give us zombies, why can't you give us a time traveler in a DLC?
My thoughts exactly. Who doesn't want to see a DeLorean in Red Dead Redemption?
It was exactly the same with me. But Red Dead Redemption 1 for some reason, not 2. But I have a
weird relationship with Red Dead Redemption because I played Red Dead Redemption 1 and it was maybe my favorite game of that generation, so the 360 PS3 era. Obviously, massively, and I've always Grand Theft Auto is fine, but I've always kind of clashed with the sense of humor and stuff, the cognitive dissonance with the world and the narrative. Whereas because you can't drive a tank in Red Dead Redemption, your actions feel more bedded to the world. So I think that's why I prefer it. And plus, Westerns are cool. Red Dead Redemption 2, I really struggled with it originally, and it's complete lack of respect for my time. I was just like, why am I having to play this completely on their terms? There's no fast travel. Everything felt like a bit of a chore. And I tried it twice and I couldn't get on with it. The third time I played it, I decided I'm going to stop thinking about how long this game's going to take me to finish it. I'm just going to play it at their pace and I'm going to play it for as long as I fancy, basically. Yeah. And as soon as I committed mentally to playing at their pace, it turned into one of the greatest video games of all time. It took me 3 goes, but the Red Dead Redemption 1 had me at hello.
So that's pretty much the same with me. I'm one of the rare Grand Theft Autos. I don't give 2 fucks about it. Like, I'm not a fan of Grand Theft Autos.
I think I finished 5. I kind of rushed through it, but I don't love them.
I've never been into them. And again, maybe it's the cognitive dissonance. Maybe it's anything like that, but they're just not for me. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of Rockstar games like that for me. In regards, it takes me a bit of time to get into them. And then when I get into the ones that aren't Grand Theft Auto, I get into like Red Dead Redemption. I enjoyed on my second play. Same number 2. It was my third play. Same as you.
Yeah, third play. Yeah. But like you said, once I got there and suddenly I was just like, oh yeah, this is brilliant. But yeah, the first one, and it's not just the first one. It's what you mentioned earlier. It maybe has the greatest DLC in video game history. Yeah. I think it's fair to say. Yeah. The zombie. What was it called? Was it just called Zombie? No, it was just.
No, it was
Undead.
Undead something, wasn't it?
Oh, what was it called? Undead something. I've got Undead Revenge, mate. It absolutely wasn't that. Anyway, whatever it was, absolutely fantastic. And even the way they kind of, and the finale to Red Dead Redemption 1, absolutely elite stuff. But yeah, the answer is Back to the Future Part 3, Red Dead Redemption version, 100%. I'm sure they can make it work. And we've said it before, if any company could actually just do it, Rockstar could. They have all the money in the world. If they just suddenly decided, fuck it, we're going to make a Back to the Future 3 spin-off, they could do it. Yeah. They won't, but they could. They're too obsessed with money now.
Undead Nightmare.
Undead Nightmare. Thank you very much. That brings us to IMDb. So this is where we pick a random 10-star and 1-star review for this movie. Before we do that, I try and guess how many written reviews there are for this film. There has to be a few, right?
There's a few,
422.
Oh, nice, mate. 472.
Oh, I'll take that. Absolutely take that. 10 stars. All right, so 422. See, I'm not sure how many people would give this a 10-star review. I feel like a lot of people would like it, but not like adore. A 422. I'm going to say like 50.
63.
Ooh, pretty close again.
Yeah. Right, so this one was written in October 2024, titled "What a Phenomenal Ending to a Wonderful Trilogy." I just finished watching Back to the Future Part 3 for the first time ever, and this movie was a satisfying way to close out the trilogy. Positives for Back to the Future Part 3, it was cool to see our main characters continue in their time-traveling adventures during the Western times. Having this movie set in the year 1885 is a nice change of setting for the trilogy, whilst also keeping the tone and approach from the previous two entries intact. It goes without saying that Michael J. Fox is still awesome as Marty McFly, and he also does a fantastic job at playing Seamus McFly, while also making that character stand out from Marty. Christopher Lloyd is once again very eccentric as Doc Brown, and I appreciate that his character is allowed to get some development after the previous two movies. Then you have Mary Steenburgen as Cara Clayton, who is a fantastic addition to the trilogy, and she has great chemistry with Christopher Lloyd. I can also say the same for Michael J. Fox as Seamus McFly and Leah Thompson as Maggie McFly. Then you have Thomas F. Wilson as Buford Mad Dog Tannen, and he is just as despicable as this character like he was with Biff Tannen. There are some fantastic set pieces in this movie, and they're just as fun as they were in previous two movies. And finally, I love the way with how this movie closes out the stories for all these fantastic characters and its phenomenal trilogy. That's not finally. Overall, Back to the Future Part 3 is a perfect ending to this movie trilogy. This gave me everything that I wanted from the final chapter in the story with these characters, and it makes the Back in the Future trilogy as one of the greatest movie trilogies in the history of cinema. Fucking hell.
I mean, yeah, more than a little long-winded. I agree with a lot of what is said there. I just think he's ignoring some of the faults of this film. Because I love this film. It's a super easy watch, but as we mentioned on this podcast, it is not without faults. The more interesting one is going to be 1 star. I'm like, who the fuck is giving this movie 1 star? But like I said, when I grew up, I think maybe some people were expecting something closer to Back to the Future 2, so maybe they found this too much of a departure. I'm going to go super low. I'm going to go like 6.
Spot on.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That is a rarity.
Yeah.
Got to take these victories, I can get them 6 bang
Absolutely,
on. Absolutely,
yeah. Right, so this was written in September 2005, titled Not an Interesting Film.
Oh.
I recently saw this movie at the weekend, and I just found it a bit lame compared to the other two. But what should I have expected? It was quite an old movie and stuff. I was also really disappointed in some bits of, like, for example, when the DeLorean gets hit by a train. I mean, I just really hated the fact that happened. I was so agitated that I just switched the movie off because, I mean, come on. Who would ever think of destroying that beautiful DeLorean at the end? Whoever's idea.
I'm sorry, I have to jump in. The fact that it's just like, at that point, I just switched the movie off. I'm like, there's like 3 minutes left in the movie, dude. It's like, see it out to the end. Like, it's not that annoying. Like, if anything, thematically, it totally makes sense.
Also,
just see out the last 3 minutes, dude.
They kept mentioning about destroying it throughout the film. You think they were carried on?
And it looks great. When they again, it's the whole practical effects thing. When the train hits the DeLorean and it's actually hitting a goddamn DeLorean, it looks so great. And I love the fact he's just like, no more of this film. I'm like, dude, man, there's 3 minutes left.
Finally, whoever's idea it was to destroy it at the end was an idiot of the century. I hope he got fired from the movie industry and charged billions of dollars. Unrecommended.
Unrecommend. That doesn't feel like the kind of word you associate with a 1-star review.
No.
Unrecommended. Like, disaster, horrible film. Just like, I wouldn't recommend it. 1 out of 10. Yeah, that guy's a weirdo. But as we mentioned before, a lot of the 1-star and 10-star reviews, they are quite mental. Yeah. Which leads us to our own scores and recommendations. I've got a funny feeling we're going to agree this week. It's an easy 4 and a yes for me. Easy.
There's nothing else to say. It's a 4 and a yes.
It's totally a 4 and a yes. This is just like, knock it out of the park. I would have bet. As soon as we started talking, I was just like, he's going to say the same. This is totally a 4 and a yes.
Nothing else to say. Absolutely agreed.
Yeah, absolutely bang on. Okay, so that has been 1990s Back to the Future Part 3. Before we get to your choice, we'll do our usual quiz. So this is a game about identifying movies from the worst descriptions ever. So the first one, there's initial clue, and then you get a backup if you need it. So the first one is, a man is killed by mustard. Not a bad clue, actually.
A man is killed by mustard. No. Yeah. No.
With a wrench.
A man is killed by mustard with a wrench.
Yeah.
Like,
the two keywords here are wrench and mustard.
Mustard. So somebody dressed as mustard or somebody named mustard.
Yeah.
Clue.
There we go. I was like, as you started talking, I was like, he's getting it. He's going to get there. Good chap. Got a good
Cluedo, depending on where you live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Betting on sport ruins everything.
Oh, that could be fucking anything.
Could it?
Betting on sports ruins everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be lucky number 11.
I'll give you a hint. Einstein tags along.
Okay, so it's Walter Matthau.
Nope.
No? Because he played
I'm going to give you
Einstein.
one last clue,
Okay.
and this is a doozy. We've talked about it today about 76 times.
That is... Fuck me. I can't think of. Oh, no. It's not Back to the Future Part 2.
It is Back to the Future.
Oh,
Part 2.
okay.
The sports
Einstein.
almanac.
Oh, the dog Einstein.
Einstein's the dog. Yeah. Because in fairness, he's got a different name in this one. But yeah, the sports almanac basically dictates the whole second half of the film, doesn't it? So yeah totally. I think that is a classic. You can't see the wood for the trees because we've just been talking about it and then you're getting a clue about it. I totally get it. I thought it was one of those ones. I was like, he's either going to get it immediately or not get it at all.
I mean, you spoon-fed it to me at the end. Give me a little hint.
Go over the line. And the last one for this week, an exterminator fails miserably. This one's a bit trickier.
I'm sorry, you went a bit laggy then. I didn't hear what you said.
An exterminator fails miserably.
Okay, so somebody sent to kill something.
I wouldn't have got this, but then I know a lot of people like this film. I have zero attachment to it.
Okay.
I tried to watch it and I couldn't get on with it.
Terminator fails miserably. The only thing I can think of is like Mouse Hunt.
Not a million miles off. Hint, he uses dynamite.
That's not Wile E. Coyote. No, I'm.
The last thing I'll give you is you're in the right ballpark in terms of it's a comedy.
Yeah, okay. So somebody said to kill something that can't be killed. Using dynamite that ends up blowing up. Like, I can picture it, but I can't think of a name.
Put this way, he's not trying to kill a person.
No, I know. It's some sort of animal. Like I said, like Mouse Hunt or whatever. I can fucking picture that kind of film, but honestly can't think of a name.
This will drive you crazy now when I tell you. It's Caddyshack.
Oh, for fuck's sake, yes. Yeah.
In fairness, I think I might have struggled with that one because, like I said, I don't have that attachment with it.
Which I don't know why I find that odd, but I kind of find that a bit odd. That you don't.
I don't.
Dude.
I think it's like we've talked about this before. Obviously, sometimes with especially with comedy movies, we have different tastes. But I think of all the genres, few ages poorly as comedy unless you if you have an attachment to it, it can be nostalgic. But if you go back and watch a comedy from 1980 and you don't have I just didn't grow up with it, and I know it's got a cat, obviously Bill Murray and stuff. But I just found it tough to go back to. I just didn't find it particularly funny. I found Bill Murray's character quite annoying. And I know there's probably people listening to this what the fuck's he talking about? I love Caddyshack. I just found it tough to go back to.
Rodney Dangerfield gets a bit much in that film.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like you said, it's probably one of those films that works in modern society as clips. If you watch little bits of it on Instagram or Facebook, it's probably quite amusing. But as a movie, I just found it too much. But anyway, not bad. 2 out of 3. I'll take that.
Oh, all day. So my choice now?
Your choice for next week, sir, yes.
Okay, so the year is 1987.
87, good year for cinema. I feel like we've done quite a few 87 films. I'll need more than that, sadly.
It's quite, because I've never seen this film. Ooh, and this film was released just before the influx of good 1987 films. It's I don't think it's considered a cult classic. It's considered a film that you should watch. And the fact that I don't think you've ever watched it. I never have. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of got overshadowed by everything else that came out in 1987.
Yeah. There's a lot of good films from 87 for sure.
The director is Walter Hill.
Walter Hill of... for some reason, the first film that jumped into my head was that dodgy Sylvester Stallone film he did in the early 2000s.
Bullet to the Head.
Why did Bullet to the Head jump to my mind?
No, for me, it's always Streets of Fire.
Did you do Warriors as well?
We did Warriors, yeah.
Yeah. 87, Walter Hill. A film we should have seen. He has done some strange films, Walter Hill.
Yeah. I'm going to give you all of the actors because I still don't think you're going to get it. Okay, and I can't believe for a film that we've missed, it's got... I won't give you the main star yet. I'll give it to you at the end. But the other actors in this film are Powers Booth, Michael Ironside, Maria Conchita Alonso of Running Man fame.
Yeah.
Rip Torn, Clancy Brown, William Forsythe.
Fuck.
These are not just
No,
Flash
no,
in the pan
no.
names.
Dude, I'm just not getting it, man.
Starring Nick Nolte.
From '87
Yes.
with Nick Nolte. Well, he had such a weird career because he
He
kind of
also
made
gave
like
us,
he was like big in the '70s, obviously going into the early '80s, and they had like a resurgence in like the early to mid '90s where it was like Cape Fear and stuff, and
Yeah.
everyone forgets like he was voted the world's sexiest man bizarrely, which seems fucking insane to me now, but obviously he had something about him. But
Walter Hill also gave us 48 Hours with Nick Nolte.
yeah, of course, yeah. And it's not another 48 hours.
No,
That'll be
it's
too
not,
much for him
no.
because that was like 1990, I think.
It was a long time after, yeah.
Yeah, it was a fair while. I'm not going to get this again.
No, mate, I would never have got it either. Like I said, I don't know if you've seen it. For
I'm
some reason,
already preparing to Google it as you say.
I've been looking at. I don't want to say ropey. I want to say and this isn't. I've been looking at like buddy cop films that we could do going forward. Like I don't want to do the usual like Lethal Weapons.
Why would we do Lethal Weapon 2, for instance?
I want to do the ones
why would we do Beverly Hills Cop 2?
I want to do the ones that kind of fell through the cracks a little bit.
I see that. Is Beverly Hills Cop 2 a buddy cop movie?
I don't think it is, no. I think it's...
He doesn't spend like if it was a buddy cop
revenge
film, it
film.
would be about the other two, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be about him. Yeah.
It's a revenge film. No, so I was looking at things like The Hard Way with Michael J. Fox and James Woods, things like that. So that we will do that. But
again, pretty niche nowadays. I don't think many people are bringing up The Hard Way, dude.
But this came into light then, and I looked at it and I thought, well, I've seen the trailer for this before, and I was going to pick it up, so I'm going to do it now. So this isn't a buddy cop film. I don't know why I brought that up. It's just how I found it. It is Extreme Prejudice.
Jesus Christ.
So a Texas Ranger and a ruthless narcotics kingpin, they were childhood friends, now they're adversaries.
I mean, I'm not even sure if I know this movie.
No,
it's got a cracking poster.
Is it the poster? Is it the Nick Nolte in like it's a bit of a reddy pinkish hue?
Yeah. It's like it looks like if you didn't know, you might think you were looking at a Sergio Leone film from like 1965 or something. It's obviously going for that vibe, but dude, Extreme Prejudice. I was expecting you to say something and me like, oh yeah, that of course, dude. I'm not even sure if I've even fucking heard of Extreme Prejudice, but the reviews are pretty good and the poster is awesome and the cast is fantastic. And Walter Hill, as I said, he's a bit hit and miss, but he's obviously made a whole bunch of fantastic films.
We've kind of liked more than we've hated, disliked of Walter Hill. So
I think his hit rates, you say that of any director. He's not like a director by the fact that I couldn't think of this film. He's not like one of those directors where I always thought, I've got to watch all the Walter Hill films, but just by taste wise or whatever you want to call it, it's like I've just seen a lot of Walter Hill films. But yeah, I've not seen this one, so this should be an interesting one.
Are you still a Studio Canal boy, or did you get rid of the?
I don't have it at the moment, but I'd happily sign up again.
So it's free to stream on Studio Canal, or you can rent it on Amazon Prime for like $2.49.
Oh, nice. And it's a nice tidy 1 hour 36, which is just a winner. That's how I get that. Honestly, I would go.
When are you looking? Because I'm looking at my runtime. It says an hour and 45. I wonder if mine's including credits.
Looking at Google. It just says, I hope I'm right because, like I said, quality is almost irrelevant. If I'm trying to get my wife to watch a movie on Tuesday and I'm like, it's an hour and 36, I can get her through the door.
We can't really argue for 9 minutes. Hour and 45.
No. But I just feel like if it's 1 hour 3, if the second numbers are 3,
you're good.
We're gold. We're gold. 40 something. She'll look at the clock, make sure it's not too late. If it's 1:30 something, it's just yes. It's almost like she wouldn't even ask what the film is. She's just like, that's enough information. It's an hour and a half. Let's fucking go with this.
I'm assuming the one I'm looking at probably includes credits. Probably 9 minutes of credits.
It might well. There's a whole bunch of awesome posters. There's a couple of really dodgy posters, but the Collector's Series Blu-ray has got an absolutely baller cover. Fantastic. And Nick Nolte is just great. I love Nick Nolte. He's got the absolute gravel voice. So
let us know on socials or just drop us an email or something. Has anyone else heard of this film?
Or seen it, maybe.
there's a bunch of our listeners who like to message us going, Rob will know this film, and it's the most randomest film ever. And I usually go, yeah, I know that one. But this one completely passed me by. So I'd like to know if any of our listeners
as well. Because this isn't some like obscuro, like no nonsense B movie. Like, it's Nick Nolte, it's Walter Hill, it's got a cast. It's just for some reason it's passed us by. But hey, great. No better excuse to watch it because, like I said, if it wasn't for the podcast, I might well have gone the rest of my life certainly not seeing it, maybe never hearing of it. So seems like a perfectly good excuse. So yeah, great shout. So this has been Back to the Future. Next week, bizarrely, Extreme Prejudice for reasons. I'm sure it'll be good fun. Anything else to add before we wrap this up?
No, we'll end it there today, mate. I think.
Okie dokie. I've been Liam. He's been Rob, and you have been listening to the Hey Guys podcast. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.